This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. When you feel like your best, fam, you can do anything. You can accomplish all those goals in your life, make sure your family's good, and even start, who knows, a mildly successful podcast. Sometimes life gets you bogged down. You might feel overwhelmed. You're not showing up every day the way that you want to. But working with a therapist can help you get closer to the best version of you. Because when you feel empowered, you're more prepared to take on everything that life throws at you. The benefits of therapy are endless. It's great to just check in with somebody who can give you some perspective on life. Make sure that you're meeting all the goals that you've set for yourself in life. So whether or not you've been in therapy, now could be the time to give BetterHelp a shot. It's convenient, flexible, affordable, and entirely online. Just fill out their brief questionnaire. You get matched with a licensed therapist. You can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Couldn't be easier. If you want an empowered life, therapy can get you there. So visit BetterHelp.com/madaboutmovies today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/madaboutmovies.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
Hold on. What movie are we doing?
Ladies and gentlemen, please make yourselves comfortable. I'm Ken Garrison.
I am Brian Gill.
And I am Richard Barden.
And this is Mad
About
Movies!
You sound insane. You realize that? Yeah. The whole world gone crazy! Seriously? It's showtime.
Mad About Movies is a podcast where we break down and discuss all things cinema. We talk movie news, movie gossip, movie rumors, everything possible in the world of cinema. And then, for the last half of the show, we break down our movie of the week.
And Brian. The movie of the week this week is
Wes Anderson's possible best movie, Moonrise Kingdom.
Dear Susie, here's my plan.
Dear Sam, my answer is yes.
Dear Susie, 1.
Dear Sam, where?
Dear Susie, walk 400 yards due north from your house to the dirt path which has not got any name on it. Turn right and follow to the end. I will meet you in the meadow.
Yes. Possible, maybe. It might be his best movie.
It might be.
But we haven't seen
we'll have to stick around to see.
The one he's working on right now, which will
right.
probably be.
Go ahead and say it's not his best movie, but we'll get to that later.
Oh, we'll get to
How
that.
How dare you?
We will get
How
to that.
How dare you?
Hey, Richard, I wanted to mention, we also go over movie rumblings, too, okay?
Oh, okay. Let me make sure.
Rumors and rumblings. So
right now I'm watching a trailer for G.I. Joe 2, and there's something rumbling.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah,
let's go ahead and talk about that for movie news. Just to kick things off, G.I. Joe, they've been pushing the marketing pretty hard on that lately, so. What do you guys...
Dumb people respond to marketing.
What are your thoughts on that?
It looks terrible.
It looks absolutely horrible. What have you heard about it, Brian?
Well, I've heard that it's going to be terrible. Have either of you guys seen the first one?
I've seen
times.
the first half, I feel like, of the first one. I don't feel like I've made it through the first one all the way anytime I've tried to watch it.
It's pretty awful. I saw it at midnight, no less, when it came out, and I haven't seen it since. But I did just rent it.
Human history.
Yeah, it was. But I did just rent it again because I needed to relive the awfulness leading up to the sequel, and I've tried twice to watch it in the last 4 days, and I just can't. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. It's so bad.
This is what I don't get about you, Brian. It's really admirable, your dedication to what you like, but you put yourself in these situations. Like me, I walk out of Green Lantern. I walk out of things. I walk out of things I like half the time.
Yeah.
I don't want to do. It's not worth my time. But you will purposefully rent G.I. Joe 1 to prepare yourself for how much you're going to hate G.I. Joe 2.
That's how much I love the listener, Richard. I'll do anything for the listener. I'm the Tom Cruise of this podcast.
You really are. You really are. You subject yourself to a lot of torture for the sake of cinema, and I just want to thank you for that publicly.
What does that make me in my level? What actor am I of this podcast? I feel like I'm like the Norm Macdonald of this podcast. Who doesn't prepare at all?
That's pretty solid. Yeah, that's a pretty good analogy there. Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Norm was good. Is good.
He was.
Yeah, he's good.
He tweets a lot about sports now,
and literature.
That, yeah.
He went on this thing a couple years ago.
You can't ever tell if he's being serious or if he's joking anymore.
Yeah,
they need to get him on Sports Center as an anchor. Pair him with Keith Olbermann again, and just
he had like a sports show on Comedy Central for a while.
Yeah,
it was for like a couple episodes though.
It wasn't bad either.
It wasn't that bad. Yeah, it was like Sports Center.
So is Olbermann back for sure? I know we'll come back to movies momentarily. Is Olbermann back on ESPN?
I don't know. The last thing I saw was that he wanted to, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sure you do because your career sucks. But
yeah, and everyone hates
ESPN want to have you back.
He was on that Honus Wagner 30 for 30 short.
Okay,
and it said baseball historian. So I don't know if he's changed, just tried to avoid being a news guy now. Now he's baseball historian. Keith Olbermann.
He really is one of the leading historians.
Oh,
of that
I'm sure
sport.
He is. Yeah,
and he's had a weird career. I think the MLB network would be a perfect place for him, but he's burned so many bridges. He's a weird guy because I'm trying to think of an actor to relate him to. He's great on TV. Even though I didn't agree with his political show half the time. He's really good and interesting on TV, and he was great on SportsCenter, but he's just apparently just such a colossal D-bag that no one wants to deal with him.
Yeah, that's the thing with him. Olbermann's great. Olbermann is probably the best SportsCenter anchor ever, and he would be great on any network talking about pretty much anything, but he is always the smartest guy in the room, and he's always going to let you know it on a daily, if not hourly basis, and he can't control himself. So I would love to see him back on ESPN just because it's train wreck material. Because it's not going to last a year. But
I hope they pair him only with Lindsay Zarniak and just watch him try to explode.
Yeah.
I used to love listening to him on Dan Patrick. It was him and Dan Patrick.
Yeah,
and
I think Dan Patrick's the only guy who can control his ego to a degree.
Yeah, they need to do that again. That was good stuff. Good radio.
Okay, back to film.
Back to film now.
Welcome to the Keith Olbermann.
I wanted to ask you, Brian, what's the last movie you saw?
Yeah, I saw a decent movie this weekend. I feel like I've been on a bad string lately of seeing bad movies or movies that I talk myself into not being terrible.
Let me guess what it was.
All right, go for it.
Was it Jack the Giant Killer? Or Slayer, I should say.
I've not seen that yet, but we could probably do a whole show on what terrible decisions the studio that put that movie into production made. That movie cost $200 million.
And Bryan Singer, who I believe it or not, I believe we have praised on this podcast numerous times.
Yeah.
Brian, I'm sorry. Did you say that movie cost $200 million?
Yes. $195 million to make.
They're saying in its total run, it's probably going to make about 80 or 90 million.
Yeah.
What?
They think.
Can we talk? Because I don't know anything about this.
100 to 150 in marketing. Thing, so.
Okay, here's the list of, and then we can get into what we've watched lately. But here's a list of horrible the decision making. There is no star, so you have nobody to hang your hat on. It's Ewan McGregor, which Ewan McGregor's fine, but he's not a blockbuster guy. Bryan Singer, who has not made great movies lately. That's not Steven Spielberg. That's not a director that we're all going to go out to see. It's not a franchise, so you don't have a built-in audience, and they're playing off the fairy tale thing, which really doesn't work hardly ever in film. So obviously what we need to do is spend $195 million to put that into production and delay it from June last year until March this year. So congratulations, guys. Way to get $28 million in March. These sort of things drive me crazy because if you're going to spend $200 million on a movie, it needs to be the Avengers, or something like that. If you're not going to do the Avengers, then you need to go the route of the movie that I keep holding up as the example is Rise of the Planet of the Apes, because that cost approximately $75 million to make, and it made a ton of money. But even if it hadn't made a ton of money, if it just gets a normal August release and makes $80 to $100 million, it's still profitable. So I just don't understand, guys. That's the gist of this.
We have the conversation right now. What idiot, or I should say, at the studio thought that people wanted to see a Jack and the Beanstalk movie?
Yeah,
or it's not a kids movie. It's not a movie for adults because it's not violent enough. It's what why are we getting Hansel and Gretel, and why are we getting Jack and the Beanstalk? Like what surveys are people taking saying I really wish they would do more fairy tales from my youth, but to a degree where I can't take my kids to it.
Right.
Makes no sense. I think it's obvious that the Beanstalk lobby
and like Snow White and the Huntsman. I think maybe Snow White and the Huntsman made a lot of money. Maybe that's what spurred it.
Hey Brian, Brian or Kent, did either of you see Snow White and the Huntsman?
No.
Yes, it's awful.
Okay, because I wanted to know because I got it was like on demand, like the first 10 minutes for free.
Yeah,
a couple months ago, and it was bored. And I have to admit, after the first 10 minutes, I was kind of in, but I could tell that it could have gone downhill really quickly.
It's
it's
got cool effects. It's got really cool effects.
Yeah,
and Charlize Theron's great.
Yeah, it was nominated for what, best special effects on the Oscars, was it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But the rest, it's just the best. I can't make an analogy. The best thing I can say about it is hollow. It looks pretty. It's not the worst idea ever for a film.
Yeah. No.
It's just it has no soul and no heart, and it takes its cue from Kristen Stewart, who again just sleepwalks through another performance. I mean, she's bad, and I think it just sets the tone for the whole.
Honestly,
movie.
If it wasn't Kristen Stewart, I probably would have seen it.
Yeah,
that's what turned me so off to it. I was like, I don't know if I could handle it.
Well, it's one of those movies that I left the theater and I was like, that wasn't terrible. It's a B- or something. And the more I thought about it, the angrier I got. And I was like, no, that's a C, and it's terrible. It's just, it's not a good movie. So,
well, Richard,
you were wise to stay away, Richard.
Richard, what's the last movie you saw?
The last movie I saw was I didn't go to the movies this week. But I feel like I watched something on cable. Oh yeah, I know what the last movie I saw was, and I didn't watch all of it. Don't worry. What's the one with Ashton Kutcher and Amanda Peet?
Amanda Peet.
Can't remember what that's called.
Let's see.
Somebody's got to Google it. I'm not doing it.
I'm Googling right now.
I don't want to put that on my browser.
A lot like Love. There it is.
2005. A Lot Like Love. Was
you could have paid me, honestly, $90 million to name that movie. Couldn't have done it.
Neither did I until it was on like ABC
A Lot
Family.
Like Love. Wow.
So that's the last movie I watched.
Well,
so how was it, Richard?
It was terrible. It was terrible. My girlfriend was over at my house while she came down here to do some work on something like a project, and so I was at work. And she does this occasionally, and I come home and the cable's
you're dating
on.
Basically, middle schooler, and you're at work.
No, she watches other stuff on channels, but then she leaves those channels on, and they're channels that I don't even know exist.
Make it clear you're dating a non-preteen.
Yeah.
No, she's like 15, 16. Like she's well in the high. I don't know. We don't really talk, but she's like well in the high school, I would guess. So I mean, she drives. So like what, sophomore? I don't know. Yeah. No, but she watches these channels that I don't know exist, and then I come home and turn my TV on, and it's still on that channel, and I find myself watching 20 minutes of A Lot Like Love because I have no self-esteem to change the channel. I just don't think enough of myself. So that's that.
That's pretty.
Well, hey, I did see a
because
movie
no one cares.
That wasn't awful.
Yeah,
so
what movie was it?
Should we pub a movie that's not awful? Since I feel like we
go
just
for it. Make it fast. Yeah.
I saw The Rock's new movie, Snitch, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. I've never been a
Pete in it.
She's not. I think that would have made it better, but I've never been a huge fan of The Rock except for Fast Five, obviously. Yeah. But this is honestly. The movie's not great, but this is, to me, it's the best performance that Dwayne The Rock Johnson has ever given. So I enjoyed it a lot. It's worth seeing.
Clearly, you didn't see the 1999 King of the Ring because
Scorpion King, maybe, guys. Come on.
Gosh.
Yeah, that or 2000s Royal Rumble.
Right.
The two of the greatest acting performances I've ever seen.
I want to ask you though, Brian, because I've heard a lot of good things about his performance, but I noticed in the marketing of this movie, there's not The Rock anywhere. It's Dwayne Johnson on all the posters and in all the marketing. So, do you think this role solidifies him as Dwayne Johnson, exiting him from his Rock persona, or is this just another Rock performance.
No, that's the thing. I've made a big deal in the past of I was not going to call him Dwayne Johnson until he could prove that he could act.
Yeah.
That was my
That's what I'm asking.
stance that I took on my website.
Right.
And this was the first time I've ever seen him in a role where I felt like he was an actor playing a character. I've always felt like it was The Rock as a cop or The Rock as a hockey player turned tooth fairy, or something like that. This was the first time that I was like, that's just actually an actor playing a dad trying to help his son. And I enjoyed his performance. The script is kind of weak, and it's not a great movie. It's not something that people need to rush out to see. But if you're the
title kind of turned me off. Snitch.
Yeah.
Like, honestly.
Right.
That's just me. I don't know.
Right.
It's probably good. I mean, I like The Rock. He's a very likable person, honestly.
Sure.
And brings back a lot of good memories from my youth, watching him give the people's elbow.
Right.
No, I like The Rock, actually. I think, though, I was going to say, didn't he try to become Dwayne Johnson like in 2004?
Yeah, but then he did the Tooth Fairy, and I feel like it's like...
Then he went back to being The Rock.
In the Tooth Fairy.
So he can't decide which road he wants to go down. Because, I mean, Dwayne Johnson is a pretty lame name.
Right.
I feel like he went with both ends of the spectrum instead of settling in the middle. Like, he's got the super cool, crazy name of The Rock. And then he has, like, the I bag groceries name of Dwayne Johnson. And there's no just, like, I'm a cool action star name. Like, I feel like his name should be, like, I don't know, Trent Rocks or something,
Right.
He never got, like, the Vin Diesel name. That's just the appropriate amount of awesome.
Vin Diesel. You just think of, like, getting punched in the head when you hear that name. It's just Vin Diesel. Oh, good times. Good times, guys. Do you have any movie news? Brian, you want to mention?
Yeah, I got two things that I want to bring up.
Are they about Amanda Pete?
No, I thought we were going to save that for the next podcast. Sorry. I thought we were going to do an all Amanda Pete podcast.
Yeah, we are.
We were just going to review the whole 9 yards, like over and over again.
Was she in that movie?
Yeah.
Couldn't name one of her movies, I don't think.
No, okay. I've got two casting bits that we need to discuss.
Cool.
The first one came out, I think, yesterday. Mr. Harrison Ford, Han Solo himself, Indiana Jones, will be in Anchorman 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So what do we think about that, guys?
I think that's great. I want to see him do some comedy. Has he done comedy? What's the last comedy he's done besides the last Indiana Jones movie?
I don't know that he's ever done straight.
Did you guys see that one coming?
Comedy. That was nice.
He did that one with Anne Heche.
Yeah, 6 Days, 7 Nights.
That's, I guess,
Didn't he do one with the girl he married, Calista Flockhart? Maybe.
Did
Did he do a movie with her?
I don't know.
Sure,
Did she show up on film? I've never.
Did she? I don't know.
Are you talking about Ally McBeal?
Yeah.
Movie? Or, I don't. I'm not
like
sure.
they did a movie
I don't know if
together.
he's ever done straight comedy, but even 6 Days, 7 Nights. I guess that's a comedy. So
Right.
it's been a while. Regardless.
Take that. How do you like that
Yes.
by Rich Man? You
Yeah,
guys
that's
are
right.
the only movie experts. No one
Got
rocked.
'em.
I didn't know the title, but
He
I
did
knew
Cowboys
it.
and Aliens, so there's
Yeah.
another comedy.
Yeah, he did the I'm expletive Ben Affleck video.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I do remember. I think I remember this news. Isn't he playing Tom Brokaw?
Basically,
Brian?
yeah. Basically, he's playing a veteran reporter, so I'm sure it'll be the straight man to all the hijinks. But
Listen,
still
that
kind
one
of an
comedy. Get ready to get owned, you guys. Morning Glory.
Oh, not a comedy. Oh,
Oh, was it not funny? I thought it was funny.
no.
Oh, okay.
Oh. Good try though.
Rain too. That was no IMDb.
That's pretty solid. Yeah.
Morning
Yeah.
Glory. Wow.
Rachel McAdams, right?
Yep.
And Harrison.
Yeah. Not one I rushed out and saw. Sorry to say.
Well,
That's exciting news, though. I mean, I've heard about. They already have a trailer out for Anchorman 2, so
Yeah.
they haven't even started shooting yet, apparently. So hopefully they get going because it's supposed to come out, I think, Christmas time. So
Yeah.
hopefully
Well, it seems like
we'll do a I'm sure we'll do a podcast on that. When
Oh
it comes
yeah.
out.
Oh yeah.
Probably revisit.
Well, it
the
seems
first
like
one.
Yeah, it seems like every week they add somebody. I think they added John C. Reilly last week, and Kristen Wiig's going to be in it. And,
Nice.
So they're amping up the cast quite a bit. Hopefully, it's not going to be a disappointment because personally, I think Anchorman is one of the funniest movies of the last decade, easily. So I'm hoping the sequel's solid.
Hey, Brian.
I just wanted to say we've seen Will Ferrell been rocking the Ron Burgundy stash for a while. He's been growing it out gnarly, so looks good.
Nice.
Did you see him posing as a security guard?
No, I don't guess I did.
Yeah.
The Lakers game. Yeah.
Google that. Awesome stash. Go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, I was going to ask Brian, has any stuff come out in Anchorman casting about them casting Amanda Peet?
We're going to have to title this podcast the Amanda Peet Podcast.
I'm just going to see how many times I can work it in.
Wow. What else did you want to mention, Brian?
Yeah, one more thing. I brought up Jason Clarke a couple weeks ago in one of our podcasts. Jason Clarke got cast as the lead in the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes movie. And then day before yesterday, they also announced that one Gary Oldman would also be joining the cast.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Greatness. Yeah,
so
always greatness.
Way up the charts on my anticipation meter for sure.
Okay.
Gary Oldman's in, I'm in. So
I was switching my headphone jack. Gary Oldman is doing what?
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, very cool. Awesome. In. Okay,
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that movie. I love the first one, and I don't know if we bashed it or we liked it when we talked about it. I think a couple weeks ago, but yeah, I liked it. I own it. I was really, really impressed with the CGI. I think you mentioned it earlier tonight. And that was a movie that I legitimately thought that they should have created that was the movie where you could say, okay, at the Academy Awards, they need to have a category for motion capture performance. Because he was the star of that movie.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the fact that he didn't, he went unnoticed, it's sad. And we're at the point in cinema where you need that category because, I mean, such performances like that, carry a movie. So I loved it, and I can't wait for the next one. Hopefully Circus is involved, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think I believe I saw that he was in for sure. So I don't think they can make those movies without him, honestly, because you're right. He 100% makes that movie. He's the star of the movie, and it's not even close.
Right.
Just great stuff.
Yep. Okay, movie news I wanted to mention.
Yep.
Let me pull it up real quick. I wanted to mention Justice League. I think I sent you guys a link the other night about the news for Justice League. And they're saying, this is just rumors, but that Christopher Nolan might be somehow still involved, and that so is Christian Bale. So what do you think about that, Brian?
I think that's interesting. I think I've said before that anything related to Justice League, I will not give it any credence until Man of Steel comes out and we see how well that movie does and what the future looks like for the DC universe.
Yeah.
But as long as Chris Nolan's involved, I'm involved. I don't care what he's making. I'm gonna see it. I think it's highly more likely that in the end, Nolan is involved as like a producer more than a director. And I at this point, I really don't expect Christian Bale to be a part of it. I think they're going to move on to something different.
I think the studio's going to want to move on, but I think Christian Bale will want to do it.
You think so?
He said if Christopher Nolan's involved, that he wants to be involved, and that he would be open to doing it again if he saw a script and liked it. I mean, because it's Batman,
Right.
So I don't know. I think Christopher Nolan being involved at all is a good thing. But I've heard some buzz about Man of Steel, and they've said it's awesome. So the early buzz is good. You can only hope. I'm going to make a prediction tonight. I think Man of Steel will be the movie of the summer. I think that'll make the most money. I think it'll be the Dark Knight of the year or whatever,
Yeah.
And people will love it. And so... And then they'll announce, Christopher Nolan. What I think is going to happen is maybe Christian Bale will show up at the end of Man of Steel in a cameo. You think?
That could be interesting.
And then Justice League is on. Boom.
Yeah. I think that's something.
So maybe
DC
they've been trying to keep it a secret this whole time, and just now they planted this story out there. That Christian Bale might still want to be involved and all this. And so by the time Justice League comes out, people put 2 and 2 together, and then that's how they announced that they're making Justice League. Kind of like when Nick Fury shows up, with the briefcase and says, "We gotta talk" or whatever in Iron Man. So, exciting stuff. We'll see what DC does, but it's gonna be hard to top Avengers. So, Richard, any thoughts on this at all?
I mean, I'm just so excited. I'm probably more bullish on Man of Steel than you guys are. I've been kind of in on it. I actually think I was really kind of psyched even when Zack Snyder got picked, just because I didn't trust him with story part, but I figured the Nolan boys would take care of that as well as David Goyer. And I thought, Zack Snyder just focused on visuals. I think he was a great choice. And
David Goyer, writer of The Dark Knight, wasn't he? Co-writer with Nolan. So
So I was kind of really faithful, or I had a lot of faith in Snyder, as long as he was kind of working within the constraints of Nolan. So I've been in on
Watchmen. I did.
I didn't as much, but I think I need to go back and rewatch it.
Visually, that movie is there's no superhero movie like it,
Yeah.
And I hope that he brings a little bit of that taste to Man of Steel. Go ahead, though.
No, absolutely. He has exceptional visual taste, and we all kind of we all laugh at 300 now because it's just kind of become a cultural joke, parody joke. But that movie was really groundbreaking. I remember seeing that movie and being just blown away by it visually.
That still is like the quintessential Blu-ray movie to own. That movie is great.
And so Superman is probably more than any other superhero relies on visuals because it can be so tacky if done incorrectly. It's kind of easy to make Batman cool looking. You make it dark, you fly him around a little bit, have the cape make some cool noises, and you're done. But Superman can be really tacky looking if not careful. Yeah. And I've been really psyched ever since I saw the first glimpse in the trailer, that first trailer with Crowe's voiceover and Costner's voiceover. I'm in. So I would be beyond excited if they did a Justice League movie. Although I don't think
but who are they going to do as Green Lantern though? At this point, that's the question.
Well, can you afford Ryan Reynolds at this point? He's had a pretty big couple of years.
And the fans loved him too. So
I think you just basically do a Superman Batman team up and don't even worry about.
They're doing Wonder Woman and the Flash though.
The Flash, you might be able to.
Those three.
Aquaman's awful, but
I don't think they're doing Aquaman. I heard it was the Flash, Wonder Woman, and Green Lantern.
As much as I liked Dark Knight Rises, Brian and I have talked about this. I like it more than most people do. Brian and I both.
Yeah.
That ending is a little not unsatisfying as far as that's how Batman ends up.
No spoiler alert there, yeah.
If you didn't see Dark Knight Rises 6 months after, you can just go die. You're down.
Well, we might do an episode on it eventually. So
yeah, and sorry, if you haven't seen it yet, you don't deserve to see it, and they should put you down like a.
That is true, yeah.
But please keep listening.
But please, and thank you for your subscription.
Yeah.
And finish the episode and then just go start the car in the garage or something. But anyway,
or just watch the movie. That also could be another option.
I'm going to stand by what I said. Or we could compromise and you have to go watch Green Lantern first. How about that?
It's basically the same thing. Yeah.
So anyway, but I think it would be really neat to see Bale kind of continue on in that story. I don't ever really want to see that Batman end. I know that's kind of neat that he did. It's rare we get to see a superhero stop being a superhero for good, and it makes it unique. But maybe just the kid in me doesn't want to ever see that Bale version of Batman, to not know that he's out there somewhere in mythical Gotham fighting crime.
Right. It's like why say goodbye to Bale as Batman if we don't have to? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if Bale wants to come back and the fans love him, why would Warner Brothers? Well, I can see why they would want to reboot it. Kind of. There's a good opportunity to, but who cares?
Bale's.
It's safer for them to make a lot of money if Bale's involved, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
People are going to want to see it if it's like the Dark Knight, meets Superman.
Yes.
And maybe they could have, who knows, Michael Caine and return to that Nolan Batman world, because that's where we all want to live. That's where we all want to live and end up someday. So
get some Catwoman back on there. Hopefully she'll leave her nipples.
I would not be opposed to that.
Nice Oscar joke there. That was good.
If Anne Hathaway doesn't want to do it, Amanda Peet be a great Catwoman.
Yeah, Amanda Peet. I'm just gonna go ahead and say, give Richard a text.
Yeah,
I think he's calling out to you tonight.
Yeah.
You've gotten more publicity on our show tonight than you have gotten in the past 20 years.
I feel like Amanda Peet would be lucky to date me at this point. It's
I think so.
Like 10 years ago, if I'm dating Amanda Peet, that's a huge win for me. But now, if Amanda Peet's dating me, it's a pretty good win for her. She's pulling 10 years younger, I've got a career.
Yeah, you're on the rise.
So. I'm on the rise.
You are on the rise. All right. Anything else you guys want to mention for movie news today?
That's all I got.
Richard?
Nothing. Let's talk about Moonrise Kingdom.
Hey, man, fam, question for you. Do you own a small business, or are you a boss? Are you looking to hire awesome people, but you just can't find somebody to fill that role? Well, let me tell you about ZipRecruiter.com. With ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to 100-plus job sites, all with one click. In fact, over 80% of jobs posted on ZipRecruiter get a qualified candidate in just 24 hours. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all sizes to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. That's why ZipRecruiter is different. Unlike other job sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them. Right now, you can post your jobs for free on ZipRecruiter by going to ZipRecruiter.com/mad. That's ZipRecruiter.com/mad. One more time, try it for free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/mad. Thanks to ZipRecruiter for supporting this episode of the Mad About Movies podcast. Hey, what's up, ma'am fam? Kent here. And yes, if you're hearing from me, you know it's time to talk about Blue Apron. If you haven't tried out Blue Apron by now, what the heck are you even doing? Blue Apron is the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. They deliver fresh meals straight to your door. All the food is fresh, it's sourced from local farms, and there's no wasted ingredients. I've been a Blue Apron subscriber for a long time now, and they have still, to this day, never let me down. There's tons of variety. Some featured upcoming meals include summer vegetable and egg paninis, soy glazed pork and rice cakes, skillet vegetable chili with cheddar drop biscuits, holy crap, and garlic butter shrimp and corn with green bean salad. So take it from me. Try out Blue Apron now. Go to blueapron.com/mad. That's blueapron.com/mad. Get 3 meals on us for free. Nothing goes better with a movie than dinner. So check out Blue Apron. blueapron.com/mad. Blue Apron, a better way to cook.
Shukusky, you in there? Jiminy Cricket, he flew the coop.
Walt, where the hell are you?
Right here.
Does it concern you that your daughter has just run away from home?
That's a loaded question. Until help arrives, I'm deputizing the little guy, the skinny one, and the boy with the patch on his eye to come with me in the station wagon.
All right, Richard, specifically, let's start chiseling away at that stack of notes you got. Talk a little bit about Moonrise Kingdom.
Well, it's a James Lipton stacked, just to create a visual, it's a James Lipton stack of blue cards.
Yeah.
No, Moonrise Kingdom is a Wes Anderson movie. Next card. No. It's a
talk a little bit about Wes Anderson as a filmmaker for maybe our listeners aren't familiar with his films. So how would you define his body of work?
I don't know if we have ever disclosed that we are in Texas.
We're in Dallas.
We're in Dallas, the Dallas area. Wes Anderson is a Texas filmmaker. He has made such films as Rushmore, Bottle Rocket, The Royal Tenenbaums, The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, The Darjeeling Limited, The Fantastic Mr. Fox, and the aforementioned Moonrise Kingdom. Did I miss any?
I think you got them
think that's
all.
it.
Okay.
But I want to mention he is from Houston.
That's
not really Texas.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. We're willing to sell Houston.
He's the one highlight of Houston. So
he is his writing partner Owen Wilson. Is from Dallas, who's written a lot of movies with him. He's also written with some of the Coppola kids and Jason Schwartzman, who's I believe also a Coppola kid, just doesn't have the name. And also I sent out a text, Kent, and I heard that one of his writing partners is willing to come in and talk on the podcast for a couple minutes.
Oh yeah, if he can come in
towards the end,
definitely
maybe.
have him. Yeah.
Okay, but anyway, Moonrise Kingdom I think is a return to form for Wes Anderson. You guys both said maybe his best movie, and I'm willing to have that conversation. I like the movie a lot. It was probably my top 10 of the year, or it was in my top 10 of the year. I thought Darjeeling Limited was a colossal piece of poop, and I thought that Darjeeling Limited is a great movie if you're interested in font and various typeface. Other than that, it has no real interest. Right. But in Fantastic Mr. Fox, I will confess, is the one movie I have not seen of his. So maybe that was his return.
Wow. Really?
Okay.
Yeah, but I have seen all the live action. So, but it is his return, I will say, to live action form. He's one of my favorite filmmakers. He's a little kitschy, which gets on my nerves sometimes, but at least he has a definite style. I will say that Royal Tenenbaums is in the conversation for Richard Barton's favorite movie of all time.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not willing to go down the Moonrise Kingdom being his best movie, because I have a immense fondness for Royal Tenenbaums. But it's definitely a great movie. So let's talk about it. I don't want to hog the conversation. You guys probably have much more interesting things to say, and let's pop it off. Let's get it kicked.
How does this compare? So this is number 2 on your list, Richard, for Wes Anderson's body and for his body of work.
It's slightly ahead of Rushmore. It's close with Rushmore, but Tenenbaums would be number 1.
Okay, Brian, where does this rank on your list?
I think this one's number 1 for me. I would go Moonrise Kingdom, followed by Royal Tenenbaums, followed by Bottle Rocket. Those would be my top 3. I love Bottle Rocket. I watched it today because I'd only seen it once before today, and it had been a while.
It's on Netflix now, so
it is, and I watched it on Netflix, and I love the simplicity of Bottle Rocket. I think that kind of gets lost in some of his other films, and that's fine. I have no problem with that, obviously. But I love watching Bottle Rocket because I feel like you can see where he's going, and knowing where he's been since then is such a, I don't know, it's such a cool thing to see. I didn't see Bottle Rocket until I'd seen probably everything through Darjeeling Limited, and so getting to watch it after where he's turned out over the last 5 or 6 films is very cool to me, to be able to see what he's doing and know where it's going to go later on in future films is a cool experience, in my opinion. But I love Bottle Rocket. You're right, Royal Tenenbaums. If there's a competitor to Moonrise Kingdom, it's probably Royal Tenenbaums. I haven't seen Royal Tenenbaums in a long time, so I guess I'll go with Moonrise, maybe based more on just recent viewing. But regardless, I think Moonrise is. I think Moonrise Kingdom is his best work. Royal Tenenbaums might be my favorite if I had to choose one, but Moonrise Kingdom is a step or two short of total perfection, in my opinion. And I love everything that he did in the movie. So that's how I'd rank them. Moonrise 1, Royal Tenenbaums 2, Bottle Rocket 3.
Okay. I think I would probably rank them the same. I would probably, or the same as Richard. Maybe I would do Tenenbaums 1, Moonrise 2, maybe Fantastic Mr. Fox number 3, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to catch that.
That one, if you're a fan of animation, like, picture you watch like James and the Giant Peach or something. Speaking of like Roald Dahl esque like era stories, and someone told you, hey, it's gonna be Jason Schwartzman and Bill Murray and George Clooney doing the voices, and Wes Anderson's gonna direct it, and it's all gonna be stop motion. It's great. It's his style. It's his exact style. We'll talk a little bit more about that during talking about Moonrise Kingdom. But I feel like he really, in Moonrise Kingdom, kind of took what he had done in all his previous movies and added what he did in Fantastic Mr. Fox and put him in a blender, and there you go. You got Moonrise Kingdom. You know that.
I agree.
The kids movie aspect of Fantastic Mr. Fox and the Wes Anderson-ness of his other movies, the family aspect of Tenenbaums, and there's a lot of other little hints at his other movies in this movie we can go over. But dying
animals. There's always a die.
Definitely check out Fantastic Mr. Fox. I actually watched that one today. I revisited Moonrise while I was eating lunch, and then after that, I went back and watched a little bit of Fantastic Mr. Fox just to kind of compare them visually, and they're almost identical. Like, where the color tones in the score are almost the same. They're very, very similar. It's almost like he did them at the same time, and he was editing them at the same time. Did you like Fantastic Mr. Fox, Brian?
Yeah, that would be probably my fourth movie on the list. I at the time when I saw Fantastic Mr. Fox, I came out and I said, "Man, that's the best Wes Anderson movie ever."
Yeah.
But after watching, after watching Tenenbaums and Bottle Rocket again, I felt like those two are better. But Fantastic Mr. Fox is an excellent movie. And I think, kind of playing off what you said, I feel like Fantastic Mr. Fox allowed him to discover some new things about himself and about the way that he makes films, and opened up some
people like
some
about
new,
his films.
Yeah, and opened up some new tools in some ways for him. I have made the analogy before, and this is just another way of saying what you just said. But I'm a huge fan of the Black Keys, and I have been for forever. After they did a Magic Potion, they went and they basically were the background band for a rap album, and they discovered the bass basically, and they came back with that new set of tools that they learned making this rap album, and turned out Brothers, which Brothers is, to me, is the best album of the decade. I love this album so much. I play it constantly. And that to me was very similar to what happened with Anderson. I think he took just exactly like what you said. He took all the stuff that he had done before Fantastic Mr. Fox, and then added in the new weapons, if you will, that he got from that movie, and brought together Moonrise, which is incredible to begin with. It's beautiful, and to take the conversation in a slightly different direction, to me, it's the most accessible movie that he's ever done. It's the movie that I want to point to anybody who's not a Wes Anderson fan or hasn't really watched any of his movies. I feel like it's the movie that I can say, start with this one, and then we'll take you to the rest of his work. How do you guys feel the same way, or am I way off on that?
No, I'll give you that. Kent, you want to go first?
No, go for it.
I think it's certainly his most honest and true to life movie. I mean, we're talking about a person that kind of constructs these imagined worlds, right? And they look kind of like our world, but they're a little bit off, and everything sort of has.
It's like you're literally in his mind's eye when you're watching his movies.
Yeah,
there's a certain design to it, and this movie, it's not to say it doesn't have that. I mean, it's on a kind of an island that could be a lot of different islands. It certainly has design aspects that are similar with Wes Anderson's past, but there's a lot of, in his previous movies, of dealing with emotion without ever really dealing with it, and keeping the characters sort of kind of cold, but at the same time layering everything with subtext. And this movie, Moonrise Kingdom, is interesting in that he really kind of attacks some provocative ideas as sort of adolescent sexuality, or even almost pre-adolescent sexuality that he addresses is kind of out of left field. You don't if you were to name 50 directors that would maybe have an interest in this or explore this in their movies, he would probably be number 50. I would pick. I don't think of him as someone that would really dive into that, but he does it. He does it with a lot of elegance and very smoothly, and it's not really gross or awkward or anything. It's really honest and very kind of sweet. So to that, I give you that point. I mean, that's unlike anything he's done, and is the most kind of human aspect of any of the movies he's made. So that being said, I kind of like the fairy tales of the previous movies. That's the only reason I love that how weird Royal Tenenbaums is, and how scripted it is, and how quippy it is. I think it's great, and it's just kind of two different things. It's comparing apples and oranges. I appreciate both in both movies, but I will say it's definitely kind of a new direction that I think he had kind of got, as Darjeeling Limited showed, as brilliant as Rushmore and Royal Tenenbaums, and to a lesser extent Life Aquatic are. That well had run dry with Darjeeling Limited. So adding this sort of humanity and this kind of exploring maybe more psychological themes is a really interesting direction. I'm really interested in his next few movies because I think he's really on to something. That Moonrise Kingdom is definitely a step in a new and I think better direction. But I just think he really peaked his previous style with Royal Tenenbaums, and I don't know if we've seen that peak yet in this new style. But it's close. Moonrise Kingdom is a great movie.
Yeah. Going on his style, I guess I can talk a little bit about how he kind of his other movies influenced Moonrise. Took a few notes today when I was watching this, just trying to think of stuff that he had done before that he did again for Moonrise, like the narrator has a beanie just like in Life Aquatic.
Yeah.
And Frances McDormand is giving her daughter a bath, just like Gwyneth Paltrow in Tenenbaums when she's smoking in the bath and her mom comes in, they're having a conversation.
The dog dies, just like in a lot of his other movies.
Right. Yeah. The outcast, misunderstood genius male protagonist kind of Rushmore thing going on with Sam Shakusky in Moonrise. The no father figure. It does. If this movie really feels like a culmination of all his other movies, kind of like this is a movie he's been meaning to make his whole directing career, and who knows how much of himself he put into it. But I think a lot can be said for those little, I love those little nods to his fan base there. Really cool.
Yeah.
Anything else? Anything you guys notice?
Well, like with all of his movies, one of the things that I enjoy with Moonrise is just kind of what you said, the nods to the fans. I like when a movie gives you a little something that not everybody's gonna get. I enjoy that, and I feel like I wish I could think of I didn't get to watch Moonrise this week leading up. I wish I could think of a specific example in Moonrise, but I think all of his movies now, or more recent ones anyways, they have these little, like just what you're talking about the Frances McDormand giving the daughter a bath, and these little things that it's like an inside joke to the fans, and it's never something that takes away from the experience if you haven't seen another one of his movies, and it's never something that gets in the way.
It's like I was watching Moonrise, I was like, oh, he ripped this from somebody. Oh no, he ripped this from himself in another movie.
Right. Yeah, and I always like that. I like when a movie can give me a little joke that not everybody's going to get, because just egotistically it makes me feel smarter. But he's kind of the king of that in a lot of ways, of being able to throw in those little moments, and just as a hey, you're a fan, way to go. I always appreciate that, and I think Moonrise has a lot of those in them. So
Richard, thoughts at all?
No, I went on a crazy 20-minute rant that I think said everything I need to say. But yeah, there's definitely continuity in his movies. I mean, even when it comes to, like I said, aforementioned font choices to music choices, to the way things are shot, that sort of sliding camera trick that he does, where he kind of pans instead of cutting between two characters, he'll pan back and forth. There's a lot of different kind of constant visual and audio themes that he keeps in his movies that I think were really kind of the entire backbone of Darjeeling Limited. But when used in a movie like this, that actually would have substance regardless. Like, this would be a great movie not directed by Wes Anderson, right? If this was just kind of like directed by, Joe Schmo who just shot it really basic, it'd still be a really interesting, cool movie. Which I don't know if you could say that about, even Royal Tenenbaums. It's just,
I totally agree. Yeah.
And so that's another feather in its cap, and it's just a really great movie. It's a really unique movie. Just it's characters. We see movies that are about kids, and we see movies that are about teenagers and adults. We don't see a whole lot of movie about that kind of a whole lot of movies anymore about that age. That kind of 10 to 13 age.
Yeah.
That where you're just gross and
Perfect
awkward.
casting, by the way.
Nobody likes you.
Yes.
Oh yeah. We
Perfect
should speak to that. Two great young actors that it'd be interesting to see.
And I saw an interview with them at the premiere at the Cannes Film Festival. Yeah. And the kid his voice had already dropped.
Oh wow! They got him.
They got him at like the perfect time. Like right when he's hitting puberty. Perfect. Like, yeah, he was perfectly cast. And so was the girl. So
producer Steve,
maybe the best child actors I've seen in a long time. Maybe since Super 8. Super 8 kids were good too. So.
Yeah.
What was the girl's? What's her name in life? Actress. What was that a sentence? What is the female lead actress's name in real life? There we go.
I don't know her name. I'll have to look it up.
That's okay. Not a biggie. But
her name is Kara Hayward.
Kara Hayward was actually producer Steven from our radio show's pick for best actress last year.
Man, I think Jared Gilman, the kid who played Sikorsky, I think he was very, very good too.
Agree. I thought he was.
This is one of the. I'll just put this out there. This is definitely one of the most underrated and overlooked movies of 2012.
Oh yeah.
It came out way too early. I think if it had come out in the fall, I think it would have been right up there with the Best Picture nominees. This movie, like when people saw it, everyone was like, "Oh, of course it's incredible. Of course it'll be nominated." And people I think it's one of those things people just assumed. And people kind of just forgot about it. You know what I mean?
And again, we've talked about that with The Master. Part of the problem is 2012 was just a stinking great year for movies.
Yeah.
If Moonrise Kingdom comes out in 2011 or 2013, I would feel good about betting that it's going to be nominated for Best Picture and everything else. It just had the misfortune in a lot of ways of coming out in a year that it was better than anything I've ever really been a part of. I mean, covered is not the right word because I'm a blogger. It's not like I'm on the beat somewhere, but I've been keeping track of every movie I see since 2004. And this was easily the best year. 2012 was easily the best year for movies. And so Moonrise Kingdom and a few others had the misfortune of, it's great that you added to that, but at the same time, you almost wish they would have come out the year before or the year after just so they get their due.
Yeah.
Plus, they had that really early release date as well.
Yeah.
Totally agree there. One thing else I want to say before I throw it back to you, I want to talk about the symmetrics involved in this movie and just the kind of commitment that Wes Anderson had to that theme. In every single frame of this movie, if you look at it, it's pretty much centered up perfectly. Mm-hmm. It's almost as if they took a ruler out and put it on the screen, and made sure everything was perfectly centered. Every shot in the movie, it's incredible. I mean, it really is. Go back, and if you didn't notice it before, go back and watch it. It's really incredible the lengths that he went to keep that theme going. It's something I noticed in the Fantastic Mr. Fox that he really hammered home. Most filmmakers do use the rule of thirds. I don't know if y'all are familiar, if y'all are film students at all, but like centering things up. Most filmmakers don't center a person up when they're talking. They kind of have them on, the right third of the screen or the left third of the screen.
Yeah.
But Wes kind of says screw that, and everything in this film is in the center. I mean, it's incredible. It really is. Like even to the point where you're looking at a scene of the khaki stouts talking. You look in the background, and the windmill is in the exact center of the screen. You know what I mean? The windmill in the background. So it's incredible, and just the links that he went to hammer that home. I can't imagine how that was a pain on every day on the set. Probably. Oh no, kids not standing in the exact center, or and things like that. And just to hammer it home even more, the scene where they're they first get to Moonrise Kingdom, the kids, and they build the camp, and Susie is reading a story to Sam, and as he's going to bed, like a bedtime story or whatever. And she turns the page and says, Part 2.
Yeah.
And so if you pause it at that moment while you're watching it, and you see the little arrow, it's in the exact center of the movie. Like, literally in the center of the movie. So, I mean, even Part 1 and Part 2 are in the exact, they're perfect, two perfect halves. So,
yeah, that's really interesting. I love things like that.
It's almost like Wes Anderson is OCD, and he doesn't mean to do that.
Yeah.
But when he's looking at it through the camera, he's like, all right, stand here. It's not perfectly centered. It doesn't look perfect to me,
Right.
And it's something I love about his style.
Yeah.
And so hope he keeps that up.
Yeah, it's stuff like that that's what it makes his film so unique and so recognizable is little details like that. It's the colors, it's the centering, it's you could probably pick out a dozen things that you don't see in almost any other movie to the point that if you blindfolded me, you didn't tell me any movie that I was and you sat me down and said this is a brand new movie and I want you to tell me who the director is, any of the three of us is within 2 minutes of the camera rolling, we could all say, oh, this is totally a Wes Anderson movie, or somebody who's trying to knock off Wes Anderson.
Exactly.
It's just a completely different experience than you get with any other filmmaker.
Some of the only movie I could think of that has matched that Wes Anderson feel is Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah,
I feel like
that's
that
a good
movie
example.
really people are like, why is this movie so good? It's just like because it kind of ripped that simple Wes Anderson way of shooting things, centering up everything and stuff like that. So really love Wes Anderson and can't wait for his next movie. It's called Grand Budapest Hotel. Have you guys heard about it?
Just a little bit, not any specifics, but I knew that was the next movie. Who's do you remember who the lead is in that? I can't. Now I've forgotten.
It is Ralph Fiennes, Jude Law, Edward Norton, Tilda Swinton, Bill Murray, Adrian Brody, Owen Wilson. Speaking of Owen Wilson, Richard.
He's walking in my bedroom right now.
No way! Wow.
That's where I keep the guests. They're in and they come into my office to record.
room.
But he's in the green room in my bedroom.
Invite him in if he can.
All right. Owen. We're good. We're rolling. Come on in. So I just sit down over here. All right. Yeah, Cameron, how are you?
Owen, it's
What's
been a
up,
while,
Owen?
man.
You're just sort of hanging out over here at Richard. He's got great snacks, and I just thought I'd come over here, and I heard you were doing a podcast on my buddy Wes.
Yeah, we are. We are talking about Wes. Can you talk to us a little bit about your next movie? Maybe you can give us a scoop on it. Are you excited about it?
Yeah, it's just this sort of masterful movie. It's like it's grand, and it's about this hotel in Budapest. And
that's all you really know at this point.
That's all I really know. Yeah, it's sort of like just this great Budapest hotel that's like crazy grand, And I'm in it. And I like saying lines and like I'm on camera, and it's just sort of like a wild experience. So it's just going to be kind of one of those things.
That sounds awesome. Brian, got any questions for Owen?
Owen, how do you feel about Amanda Peet? Have you ever had the opportunity to work with her, or is that something you'd like to have happen? Or
when you're working in this industry, so many people that just seem like, wow, I just really want. I think they're great, and she's definitely one of them. Really like her energy, really enjoyed Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip. Just thought like, wow. Wow, Matthew Perry and her, it's like they've got such chemistry. They did that and the whole 9 yards, and then like just when you think it can't get any better, there's the whole 10 yards just sitting there waiting for you, and I pop that in every once in a while, have a glass of red wine, and just sort of see where the night takes me. But yeah, definitely would love to work with her.
Well, thank you, Owen. Thanks for coming by. No, we can't keep you. You got to get back to those snacks, but we'll hope to have you back.
I'm going to play a little Assassin's Creed downstairs with Corey on the
PS. Gonna go to Old South?
Old South, when I'm in town, that's where I go.
Well, we'll see you there, sir. Appreciate it.
Hey, mahalo, brothers. Okay.
Mahalo. Owen Wilson, ladies and gentlemen. Richard.
So cool. I got cool, man.
Cool guy. Really cool guy.
Really cool guy. We've fostered a great friendship, him and I.
Yeah. Say thank you for us.
Well.
Any other thoughts on Moonrise, guys?
Yeah. One more thing. we touched on it with the acting, how good the acting is. We talked about the kids. I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't mention how great. Obviously, Bill Murray's great. Obviously, Frances McDormand's great. To me, what really makes the movie so great is Ed Norton and Bruce Willis.
Yeah, totally.
Which both of them, I think, this is the first time either of them has worked with Anderson, if I'm not mistaken on that. I feel like of all the Anderson films, I think Gene Hackman in Royal Tenenbaums is the best performance out of anybody.
Yes.
But Willis and Norton both, to me, were up there in the upper stratosphere of great acting in an Anderson movie. Norton in particular just completely nailed that role, and brought a little comedy, a little seriousness. Everything he did, I was just kind of fixated on him every time he was on the screen. But anyway, I thought both of those were incredible performances that deserved a mention.
It's funny, Bruce. People say this is not like a Bruce Willis type role, but he plays a cop, guys. Let's be honest. He plays a cop in every movie.
Yeah.
No, but I agree with you. Very well done. Great acting. I love Bill Murray as always.
Sure.
Yeah, Edward Norton. It's good to see him in this role. It's funny. It's a great opening. The way they introduce that character is very well done. Very Wes Anderson-y, funny. Yeah, good stuff. Richard, any thoughts? Closing thoughts, maybe?
Oh, great movie. Check it out if you haven't seen it. And then if you haven't seen any of the other Wes Anderson movies, definitely go through and watch those. They're all I would say, with really the exception of Darjeeling. Maybe I hate that more than the rest of you. But really all of them have a lot of value. Even some are greater than others, but they all have a lot of value and are almost all enjoyable to watch. So definitely check all those out.
Yeah, I would have to agree there. So, Brian, anything else to say?
No, we gonna do weekly recommends.
We are about to do it right now.
All right.
So here we go with weekly recommends. Brian, just go ahead and kick it off.
Sure. My movie this week is about 12 years old, something like that. One of my 10 favorite movies of all time, and I hadn't watched it in 4 or 5 years, but it's making the rounds on HBO right now, and it reminded me of how great it is, so I popped it in a couple of days ago and watched it, and that would be Cameron Crowe's Almost Famous.
Oh, yeah. Great movie.
Good recommend.
I feel like this is a movie that gets overlooked by a lot of people. Anytime I'm talking with friends or family or whatever, and I bring up this movie, I don't feel like anybody's seen it. It's kind of gotten lost over the last decade or so. If you haven't seen it, it's a sort of semi-autobiographical movie written and directed by Cameron Crowe about a kid in 1973, literally a kid, a 15 or 16-year-old kid who goes on tour with a rock band that's about to break it big, and writes an expose on them for Rolling Stone. Like I said, it's one of my 10
true story. I mean, that Cameron Crowe.
Right. Yeah, it's based on his story. He did that with Sabbath, I think.
Yeah.
Is that right?
No, I'll look it up real quick. Go ahead. Continue on your talk, though.
Regardless, it's filled with incredible performance. The cast is great, and it's one of those movies where you forget that, like Jimmy Fallon shows up for 10 minutes, and he's great. Zooey Deschanel is pretty much her first movie. This time around, I was watching an Eric Stone Street from Modern Family.
Oh, really?
As a random appearance. He has like 3 lines, But beyond that, Russell Hammond is the guitar player for the band that this kid's following. He's played by Billy Crudup. Is one of my very favorite characters of any movie. Yeah. The music's great, as are all Cameron Crowe movies. It's a beautiful movie. If you like music at all, to me it's a must see. And like I said, I feel like people have kind of forgotten about it over the years. So
one of the most memorable scenes in recent cinema, the Tiny Dancer.
Yes, scene. Yes.
It makes you smile every time. Almost.
Yes,
it's great.
Yes. So it's like I said, it's making the rounds right now on HBO. So if you've got HBO, check it out. If not, it's 100% worth renting or just buying and watching. It's a tremendous film, and I would love for more people to to see it and have some have that knowledge, because it's such a great movie. It's one that I only watch like every 3 or 4 years because I never want that magic to wear off. And every time I watch it, I'm reminded of just how stupid good this movie is. So
if you don't mind, I'd like to take a second to actually discuss, because I think Cameron Crowe's had a really interesting career. He's been a journalist and a filmmaker. He's made movies in really a pretty odd and astounding array of genre. He's made Jerry Maguire.
Have you seen the Pearl Jam documentary he did?
Yes.
Yeah,
that was great.
It's
Yeah,
great. So
good.
is the one he did with Leon Russell and Elton John, The Union, which is another great. And so I kind of wanted, the question I would ask, he also made last year's We Bought a Zoo, which I think was not good. I didn't see it.
Yeah, it wasn't.
So what do we make of him? What's Cameron Crowe's move going forward? Right? Is he out of movies? It seems like Vanilla Sky is a pretty good movie.
Yeah,
I think.
Vanilla Sky got panned hard when it came out, but it's one that I say people need to watch it a second time. If you saw it back when it, and I think it came out in 01 or 02. If you saw it back then, you need to give it a second chance because it's much better than you remember it.
And what's interesting is that it's nothing like Almost Famous or Jerry Maguire. It's really cool that someone would be. I don't know. It's interesting.
No, I think you're right. He doesn't have a specific. He doesn't have a go-to move. You know what I mean? He's kind of a chameleon in the way that in the movies that he chooses, and I think that for me it works in his favor. As a huge fan of Cameron Crowe, that works in his favor. As average Joe moviegoer, that might not be the best way to go. You know what I mean? It's when you don't know what to expect from a guy, it's hard to sell that. It's hard to sell that to the audience. For me, Cameron Crowe is if I know he's making a movie, I'm there 100%. I'm in. His next movie, I saw, this was a couple months ago, he just cast Emma Stone in his next movie. And I'm
Bradley Cooper too.
Can't wait for that. That sounds great. But he's such an interesting guy. And I personally, I like that he's not locked into a given thing, but at the same time, I know that can be frustrating. We Bought a Zoo is not good. And it seemed that was the first movie that I've seen of his where I felt like he really struggled with how to fit that movie to the genre that it was supposed to be in. But every other thing he's done, even Elizabethtown, people hate Elizabethtown, and I really like it a lot. I've always had a fondness for it. But everything he does is interesting. So, anyway,
it was just a shock to the system for the world to see Orlando Bloom without a sword or bow.
yeah.
And but no, he's really interesting to me, and I'm really captivated as to what his next move is. He's had a lot of hits, a lot of misses. Once again, I mean, we're talking about a guy that wrote Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I mean, this guy's made some classic movies,
right?
But his last two scripted movies, at least, he's made some good docs. Have been kind of duds, commercially at least.
Well, it's all been down. It's been down for sure since Almost Famous. It's been downhill.
Yeah,
from there.
Yeah, because I would say even Vanilla Sky, which we both like, maybe was also a bust. So kind of one negative. Does he continue just maybe making docs? He's made two really great docs. I don't know. He's somebody I think I really am focused on for the next 3 years, because this is a person with enormous talent, but we don't really know. I think is kind of at a really turning point where he can kind of go either way with his career.
Sure.
And I'll segue if you guys. Is that all you guys have on Cameron Crowe?
Yeah,
because it segues well.
Almost Famous. Watch Almost Famous. Go watch it now.
And that segues well into my pick of the week, because the director of the film I picked this week actually somewhat discovered Cameron Crowe. Earlier last week, I got a text from Kent, and he said, "Hey guys, Criterion collections are 50% off." I remember I was actually depositing money from one bank account to another, because that's what I do all day, as I just switch money from one because I'm just that wealthy. And I have one account that I sort of like allocate money I want to spend on stuff, right?
So do I. Yeah, savings and a checking. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would, but they're at mine are at two different banks. So I kind of have two checking. One for like things I need, food, groceries, things like that, and then one that I put a small amount in every month just to have fun with.
Sure.
So I was actually at the bank taking that amount of money out when I got the text from Kent, and I, of course, doubled it immediately because I'm a really responsible person.
Right.
And went home and bought some Criterion sets because they were 50% off, and I got one that no one will care about.
Already got them in the mail? Wow.
Yeah, I've had them several days. They came in Saturday, actually.
Wow.
And one of the movies I got, it was a film by James L. Brooks, who once again kind of played a key part in Cameron Crowe as far as being a filmmaker. And it is Broadcast News, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. But I now have the Criterion Blu-ray of Broadcast News. It has William Hurt and Holly Hunter and Albert Brooks. One of the funniest and saddest and just best written movies you will find. It's from the 80s, but could have been made really in any decade. It's an interesting look as far as the way news is made. Now we're talking then with a lot of editing on tapes and things like that maybe aren't true now, but it's still interesting and still applies to even blogging and Twitter universe and things like that. But it's mostly just a character study about these kind of this romantic triangle that forms, and it's really it's got an interesting ending, and the whole movie's just, I don't know if either of you have seen it, but it's one of my favorite movies ever. Broadcast News, James L. Brooks.
Haven't seen it. Good recommend.
That's a good recommend. I've seen it.
Maybe you can let me borrow the Criterion.
Yeah.
Sure.
Go ahead, Brian.
No, I was saying I've seen it, but it was like a bad copy, and it was one of those times when you rent a movie and it like skips and things like that. And it's always been one that I want to get a review of because I obviously didn't get to see it in its best form. So maybe I'll borrow that from you as well.
No, absolutely. You're both welcome to it. And Holly Hunter is really great in it. One of the best female performances I've ever seen. A really annoying character. Especially at first, like just a really grating character that you really grow to love because it's so well acted. I mean, it's just a really interesting movie.
Nice.
Yeah, good pick.
Good pick.
Thanks.
My weekly recommend. This is kind of a movie / TV show, I guess. Brian is probably familiar with it already, but this week I kind of binged through the entire series of Firefly.
Oh, yeah.
Brian.
Nerd alert.
Talk to me about Firefly.
I love Firefly.
Nathan Fillion!
Brian, you like it? Talk to me about it.
My favorite sci-fi TV show of all time, easily.
Really?
Hands down. Not even close.
I did not know this.
Yeah.
Behind Hercules, even?
Yeah.
Kevin Sorbo is a huge fan of the
Sorbo,
podcast, and he's pissed.
Dude, speaking of Kevin Sorbo, I was at Half Price Books. Sorry, this is totally an aside. I was at Half Price Books the other day, and there is a Kevin Sorbo biography.
Autobiography?
Yeah.
One across the street from my house?
I can't remember if it was that one or the one down on 377, but regardless, that exists. There is a Kevin Sorbo autobiography. Sorry, Kent, proceed with your weekly recommend.
So I'd never really, I'd watched episodes on and off, but I never watched them all in order. So I did that, and then I watched Serenity, the movie.
Yeah. And
it's really interesting how you can watch a whole show and then immediately watch the movie version of that show.
Yeah.
Because it makes all the difference, a budget. I mean, it's incredible. Serenity is a great film if you haven't seen it. It aside from Firefly, it's a great sci-fi flick. But yeah, I can agree with you. It's one of the best sci-fi series ever made. I'll say that. I think maybe some Star Trek series might have something to say about that. Maybe the Next Generation, in my eyes, might be my favorite. And Doctor Who's getting up there with me, but Firefly is great. It's really sad something good can't stay on the air. I think it was just wrong place, wrong time for it.
Yeah.
I think.
We could probably do at some point. We could do kind of a bonus segment or something on Firefly as a whole. But yeah, you're right. It was wrong place, wrong time. Never really got a fair shake. There's a whole lot of stories regarding the production and the way that Fox utilized the episodes. They aired them out of order, which was a huge issue. Yeah. That kind of set them off on the wrong foot just to begin with. For me, the thing about Firefly is the characters are so incredible. All of the 6 or 8 main characters are immediately within 10 minutes of starting the show, you care about them and you're invested in them and want to see them succeed. So
I kind of got addicted to it. I kind of watched the first maybe 4 or 5 episodes. And then I would go to watch something else, and I would be like, "Well, I don't want to watch anything else right now." Yeah. Until I was done with it, and then I was still. And then after that, I was like disappointed there wasn't more. I was like, "Ugh."
It's kind of
just like Star Wars. You just want more of those characters. They're just likable characters.
Yeah, it's kind of a frustrating thing to recommend. Like anytime I'm around somebody who's into sci-fi who hasn't seen Firefly, instantly I say you've got to see Firefly. But at the same time, it's like you're kind of setting them up for failure because it goes
nowhere.
It's got 14 episodes, or 12 episodes, something like that. And
it was 12, and then they have 14. I think the last 2 were added on after the initial run.
Yeah, and it's just starting to get so good. You see that it's starting to take off, and then it's over. And so
you got to maybe think if Serenity had come out and been a successful movie first, and then they had tried the TV show, you got to think it would lasted more than 12 episodes.
Yeah.
Because like I said, the cast is just that good. It's good in every aspect. I don't really know anyone that's seen it that doesn't like it, so I'll just say that. It was good. Check it out. It's all on Netflix. Watch instantly. Serenity is too. So binge it
I
like
need to
I
do
did.
that. I've had 100 people recommend that to me over the years.
I mean, it's not like. I mean, as far as special effects in a TV show, it's way up there as far as like CGI. But it's definitely, you have to be a sci-fi person to be into it. I mean, you have to pay attention, and it's definitely a space. It's kind of like a space western.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Exactly
It's kind
what
of
it
the
is.
real cowboys and aliens.
I think that's exactly what it is. Yeah,
it's a kind of a Han Solo series.
Yeah.
So do I watch Firefly first and then Serenity?
I think you can do it either way. I did the opposite. I watched Serenity first and then caught up with the series, and either way is fine. The key is to watch what was supposed to be the pilot. Watch that first before you watch what they aired as the pilot, and I can show you what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The deal is Fox showed just a random episode as the pilot, and it totally sunk the show before it ever started.
An hour and a half.
They didn't want it. Yeah, they didn't want to air an hour and a half pilot for this show that nobody knew about. But the pilot's great, and it introduces you to all these characters. Instead, they just played like the 6th episode from the season. It makes no sense.
It's weird how so much of that has changed. I feel like so many more people are familiar with the concept of pilot now, and these kind of elongated pilots, even in the 8 years since that show was on, how much television audiences have evolved. No one would ever do that now. No one would ever be dumb enough to do that. Yeah. Okay, we've got the Americans here, but they made a 2-hour pilot. We'll just show episode 8. That seems like a good conclusion. We could do it on back-to-back weeks and split it up. Nah, let's just show episode 8. Is that cool?
Well, welcome to Fox in the early aughts.
Yeah, that's exactly.
All
Fox
kinds of great
has never been a good
decision-making.
network decision-wise at all.
And speaking of Firefly getting canceled, I was thinking of starting a network if I can just get the funds. And Brian and I have had a lot of conversations about networks starting. We've started about 300 of them.
Right.
But Brian, here's a new one I don't think I've run by you. I just thought of this earlier. I want to start a network that only picks up shows canceled by other networks immediately after they're canceled. And I mean, I'd probably get some duds, but I feel like my batting average would be higher than the networks originally airing.
It has to be immediately after too.
Yeah, like you cancel Firefly, I don't sight unseen. I'm picking it up.
Yeah,
and I'm just gonna say that the people that run these networks are so stupid. I feel like I would hit more often than I missed.
Yeah,
right.
Like you cancel Arrested Development, it's not canceled. I'm picking it up. Just that's what I do.
Yeah.
And so that's my new idea for a network. Well, Brian, we'll flesh it out later. Okay, cool.
Sounds good.
Good. Hey, no, that's a good another good recommend, Richard. Strong. But yeah, check out Firefly if you haven't and get into it. Unfortunately, it's not coming back that we know of, but get into it and write more letters into Fox to get it back.
Yeah.
Can't hurt.
Yeah, like worst case scenario, I gotta air 5 episodes of Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 3. But I mean,
that's not Fox though.
I know, but I'm saying I would any network that cancels anything, I pick it up.
Right.
And so, I mean, I would get bid on it,
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like I would hit a lot too. Next thing you know, I'm 7 seasons deep in the Firefly. I'm making a ton of money.
Yeah. If you like that idea, send us some money so we can start our own network.
Kickstarter. Here we go.
Yeah.
Any of our billionaire listeners, cut us a check.
Yeah.
We've given you about 8 hours of entertainment now.
Right.
That's true.
It's the least you could do, really.
That's a third of a day.
Anything else you guys want to recommend for tonight?
No, that's good.
This podcast, Mad About Movies, you should
Yeah.
Hey, tell a friend. Let's start a program.
Where can we find you, Richard? Where can we find you?
Find me on Twitter at Richard Barden and at richardbarden.com, my reviews and such.
Right on. Brian.
I'm at bgill12 on Twitter, and my movie reviews and movie-related shenanigans are at thesoapboxoffice.com.
You can find me on Twitter at Kent Garrison. You can find the podcast by emailing us at madaboutmoviespodcast@gmail.com. If you have a complaint or whatever, we don't care. Just email us and we'll talk about it. Maybe we'll bring up your name on the podcast. Maybe if you leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, we'll bring your name up and probably invite you on to talk about movies.
Yeah.
Hey,
we just want to make friends, really. That's the only reason we're doing this.
We're going to make friends, guys.
Yeah.
And
that's our guerrilla force. I mean, tell a friend. I mean, I hate to say it's not enough just to listen, but it's not. And we appreciate you listening.
Yeah.
But tell a friend. Tell 2 friends. Say you hear people talking about movies on a subway. Tell them. I don't know anyone.
We demand a lot of our listeners, so you better get ready.
We do. And remember, those of you that haven't seen Dark Knight yet, kill yourselves.
On that note, until next week, we will see you guys at the cinema. Good night.
Amanda Pete.